looking for you. Where are you? Somewhere far away. You found yourself, but I didn't even know.
Yo, what is up everybody? Joshua Casper back at you with Plugin Boutique and another video tutorial. Today we're taking a good look at SubLab XL from Future Audio Workshop. If you are into subs or bass in general, this is a synth you're gonna want in your toolbox. It is so good. It makes incredible sub basses. If you're looking for that 808 style, look no further.
'Cause you found me.
So this is a modified version of the preset called Colder Than Alaska. And this is the macro page. This is new to SubLab XL. You can assign a bunch of parameters. I'm going to show you how in a second to these two macro sliders. And then there's this very cool visualizer here in the middle. If you come into a different pack, the visualizer changes. And they all look super cool, let's be honest. I love it. Let's just check out one more maybe. So that's the macro page. It looks cool, it sounds great, and you have control over the macros. So I'm gonna come into the synth page, and if I come up here to these three dots and say new preset, we're gonna start from scratch. So SubLab XL, you'll notice comes with a bunch of new effects. Before, I think it was just distortion and maybe the compressor, but now we have the tape, the crusher, and the Waveshaper as well. The three sections are the same up here at the top. This is where we generate the sound. Right now we have it on sound, which is just a synth, and if I play the MIDI we have, it's just a nice bass sound. If you don't have headphones on, this is a good time to put them on, or if you don't have good studio monitors, put your good headphones on because we're dealing with bass frequencies and not all monitors go this low. You should be able to hear that one anyway. But we've got a, triangle saw, square, super saw. So no matter what, even if you're listening on your phone, you should be able to hear that now. Happy hardcore. But let's go ahead and just put it on sine or maybe even triangle. I'm going to leave it on sine. That's our initial sound. And we have a volume envelope over here. So if I want to go for like more of an 808 bass hit, that's the way to do it. We also have a pitch envelope. That's where you get that little bit of a thump. We also have a filter envelope, an LFO, which we can assign to different things with the destinations and the glide function, which actually has some really cool animation. But anyway, let's just leave it there for now and jump over to the sample. So you saw with the pitch envelope that I added a little bit of a thump here with the pitch here. But what we can do is actually turn on a sample and we activate it right down here at the bottom of the mixer. And now you can hear it. And of course we have control over this. So we can easily make that what could have been by itself a kick into a just essentially a transient. But if you come in here and come into these, we've got a bunch of just samples in here. So we can go attack or come into 707 and go to attack bright. It's just going to be the clicky sound. You hear it? That's what it is. It's a transient clicky sound. It's very important for a kick. It really helps it sit in the mix or come stand out in the mix, and also helps if people are playing it back on a cell phone, etc. And just adds a punch essentially to your kick. So we can actually bring it down. Great. And then the final one is the X sub, which just adds super low frequencies to it. And if you don't have good speakers or good headphones, you might not even hear this. It just adds the super subby low end. And the three of those combined is just a massive, massive sound. So I'm gonna actually pull this down. One of the cool things about this tone window over here is you'll actually see the different frequency curves for each one of them independently. You can make some mixed decisions based on that. And of course, we still have our filtering options, and it has some very clever sub, main bass, and harmonics, and it just helps you sculpt where it is. And if you hover over this and look down here at the bottom, I'll actually tell you, this is the harmonic section. This is outside of the normal bass range, but it can help sell your bass on cell phones, for example, and you can add that by using distortion, crushing, wave shaping, etc. When we get to that, we'll check it out. Then we have just a general filter here at the bottom. We can key track the filter if we want, and we can send different ones to it. You're not going to be able to send the X sub to it, but you can send your synth or your attack to this. Next thing we're going to do is just come over to the effects, and for example, let's add some distortion. And again, you see how the send amount. So let's send that synth sound over there. Let's send that synth sound over there. And you'll start to really hear. And of course, we can roll off the subby low end. And you can see up here in the graph on the green line that we're adding harmonic information above that harmonic line. Cool. And if we don't want to send the click there, we can do that. And if we want to add a second effect, we just hit the plus button. We can have some wave shaping, for example. And we can add another one, perhaps a compressor. You can also change them up here at the top if you want to switch one out. You can reorder by clicking the dots and switching over, and you can get rid of them by hitting the X. Now, what about the macro controls I talked about earlier? Those are located up here on this view, and you just take this and essentially drag and drop it wherever you want. So if I want my drive to be on A there, I just come over and I can set my range here. So this would be the minimum and this will be the maximum. You can also change the order, so it will flip it on the slider on the other view. Whatever you want to do, you can clear it from here as well. So we can add more than one to the macro, obviously, if I want to have the drive for the distortion and the Waveshaper going to this, and then I can come over here. So let's say I want to bring that down a little bit more. I just click that A and I can actually bring the max value down. And if I move this again, you'll see that it doesn't go up as high. Pull down the fatness. And for macro B, we can take it and put it on the decay time. And now we have control over the decay. And boom, we have essentially a kick right out of the gate. There are a bunch of other things we can do. I've done a quick tip tutorial on using the sample based in here. Say you want to come into an 808 and drop the kick on there. And if we solo it, that's actually down pretty far, so maybe we could pitch it up an octave. Oh, I didn't turn off that sub, sorry. So now that I have a sample loaded in here, I can actually zoom in. And we can add a sustain loop here. Going to bring it over. And one of the cool things I really like about SubLab XL is you see the X next to the loop beginning point there. See how it's X and then a check mark? This is saying this is where you want it to be. And if I zoom out a little bit more, I'll bring this way over. you'll see the check mark again, and that just means that's a perfect loop, or you're at the zero crossing, the same zero crossing, and it should be a fairly clean loop. So if I pull up my decay a little bit more, you hear how that short bass loop is now a sustain loop. If I bring up the sustain, and you have a little bit of a clicking, so I can bring up the X fade. And now I have a sustained loop out of this short thing. And I just want to bring attention to that check mark there. It's just really helpful rather than me trying to eyeball. You can see it's a perfect zero crossing right there. And between that check mark and this check mark, we have a great place to loop and then have a sustain note on an otherwise pretty short bass hit here. But yeah, we've got a lot of other controls. We've got a filter in here. We've got the impact. We've got a delay if we want it. Fade in, fade out for the actual sample itself. Lots of samples. You can drag and drop your own samples into here if you want. And really, the sky's the limit. As I told you in the beginning of the video, this is an incredible synth if you like bass. I use it all the time when I need a quick solution and I want a fat bass just out of the gate. SubLab XL has me covered. Anyway, as usual, this is already available on pluginboutique.com. Links in the video description. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. And I'm Joshua Casper. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next video.